Hey guys, it's Zero again, back with Heavy Metal Reptiles. Um, Today we're going to do a different video than just like a reptile video. Um, I was surfing on TikTok early this morning and come across a video about sugar gliders. This kid had sugar gliders, or adult or whatever, I don't know. I didn't see how old they were, who they were, or anything like that. But apparently people are buying sugar gliders that have no idea how to take care of them. And although I own mainly, actually, nothing but reptiles now, when I was younger, I actually had my own sugar glider. And for the area we live in, I was the only person that the vets around here knew that was able to keep one alive longer than a few years. So I'm going to go over some kind of run down the truth behind sugar gliders, and they are just little balls of fuzz that fly through the air. So we're going to break these up into categories, kind of like what we do with the reptiles. We're going to start with bonding, which we have as its own category, because that is the start. From when you buy it, you start bonding. And then we're going to go into some of the care, money, and then we're going to talk about 5 things that people do wrong when they first buy a sugar glider. And that'll be based off of stuff that I've seen online. Like I said, we're going to start with bonding. And bonding is the hardest thing you're going to go through when you first buy a sugar glider. They're marsupial, and they actually are really closely related with the koala somehow. Koalas are way bigger. But that's like their next of kin, or however you want to say it. That's what they're closest to. I think they're kind of closer to monkeys once you actually interact with them. But the bonding's the hardest, and for me, when I got mine, it took me about 3 or 4 months, which doesn't sound that bad, but with sugar gliders, it's 3 or 4 months of a minimal an hour a day, having them out for the first few months. And then after that, you can kind of dwindle down a little bit, but you're still wanting, out of the 7 days of the week, you want them out at least 5. So in a minimal of an hour a day. And you got to remember certain things, which we'll talk about in the care and when we go over their cycle and how they are. There's some things you've got to remember about them too. But bonding is pretty simple, at the same time really hard. So these things do bite pretty good. Even worse than a ferret bite, honestly. They do really chomp down for some reason. Mine drew blood on me multiple times through the bonding experience. So that's just something to be aware of. They aren't going to kill you. I think a snake bite probably is worse, honestly. Just because the snake can make his mouth a lot bigger, pretty much, and the sugar glider can't. But it's a long process of getting bit. It's a long process of dealing with them, trying to get away from you. Little tip I used was I slept with a piece of felt, and then I put it in its pouch that it slept in, and it kind of got used to my scent. And then I would carry it around. For me, I carried it around when I was doing my homework and things, because I was only like 13 when I had it. I would carry it around on a pouch with a front open mesh front that turned it towards my body, and I would have it on me for about 2 hours to 3 hours a day when we were bonding. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the care, where we'll retouch on bonding a little bit, but there's a lot that you need to know about the care of them in order to bond properly. Alright guys, now with the care on these things, care is not easy. I see a lot of younger kids buying sugar gliders nowadays, and this isn't exactly an animal that you want to buy your kid. We talk about hard animals, and without my grandparents and them helping me the way they did, because my grandma was the one that took care of the diet and things a lot. Like, I knew how to take care of it and I helped her prepare the meals, but she was the one that did all the grocery shopping and things for it. But this isn't really an animal you want to buy your 10-year-old kid. People talk about family pets with sugar gliders, and they aren't a family pet at all. They are more of a I'm invested in, this is what I want, and I'm going to love and take care of it for years to come. They live a pretty lengthy lifespan. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking it's something like 15 to 20 years. So, I mean, it's kind of up there with a lot of our reptiles and stuff. So, but clipping nails, add a picture of how they have to clip the nails. So I got this guy out because he's our closest reptile to what a sugar glider's size is, minus the nub back here. Sugar gliders have an extremely long tail they actually use to hang from. But so what we would have to do is we'd have to take a piece of cloth and cover him, and then we would have, my grandpa actually was usually the one that had to dig its hand out, and we would trim it while keeping the sugar glider covered. It is stressful on the animal, but trust me, it's more stressful on you when you do it. It's extremely scary. There's what I guess would be the equivalent of your cuticle, but for them, and their nails are curved, so it's really easy to grab a hold of that cuticle, and then it bleeds like crazy. Huh?
It's called a quick.
A quick?
Yeah.
Well,
it's on the dogs too.
Okay. Well, a quick then, the equivalent, they might call it something different with a sugar glider. But if you get that, they bleed, and they don't just drip a little, it's gush blood. It's actually pretty scary when it happens. Luckily, we never had it happen. The person that we used to communicate with that bred sugar gliders had it happen and showed us what it looked like, and it's pretty insane. So that's probably the most stressful thing you're going to have to go through. As far as like illness and things, I never really experienced illness. I got rid of mine because she matured and wanted to breed, and I didn't want to get a male for her to breed. I didn't want to get another one for her to have a companion, because she was enough for me as it was, and my grandparents. I mean, there's 3 people trying to take care of her. And I'll get another one, but I'll get 2 this time. Now that I'm an adult, it's different. But we ended up taking her back to the breeder, and she got in their breeding program. We just gave her back to them. But the next thing is the diet. So the diet, although when I tell you it's going to sound cheap, it's not. It's a lot of fruits, snap peas, and things like that too. And I guess those are vegetables, right? Yeah. So like snap peas and things like that. You're not really supposed to give them bananas very often. Actually, that might be one that you're not supposed to give at all. Double check. Make sure you guys are doing your research. This isn't a care guide. This is just a rundown. But they're mainly a fruit, some vegetables, and protein. So they eat a lot. I used to feed mine superworms. That's what she loved, was the big superworms. So they do a lot of insects too. I don't think they do crickets. Actually, I'm pretty sure they don't do crickets. And it wouldn't be a good idea, because you guys have to keep these things in like a bird cage. So it would be good to let a bunch of crickets go in your bird cage. But there's that person out there that would be like, crickets sound like a good idea. So the other thing is, and this is where we're going to revisit back to bonding, sugar gliders are nocturnal, and I can't stress this enough about keeping them away from windows. I saw a video this morning where this lady had her sugar gliders in a very bright room, which isn't bad, except for she had them out and running. Believe it or not, the sun will blind a sugar glider. They cannot be in sunlight. Well, direct shot of sunlight. It's not guaranteed it's going to happen, but it is very possible that the sunlight will blind your sugar glider. So when you're bonding, that's something to take into consideration. Not only that, but they bark. And when you're bonding and they bark at night, which is something I didn't learn, which probably would have helped me with my bonding. I didn't learn until after I had already gotten rid of my sugar glider. When they bark at night, it's actually trying to get your attention. So once you start to gain that connection, you might notice them barking at night, and that's the perfect time to go in, open the cage. They're going to be crazy when you get them out, but get them out, interact with them for 10 minutes and put them back or whatever. But that's a kind of an important time. Like I said, I didn't know that until after I had mine, which I wish I would have known then. But once they're bonded to you is when the real chore begins, because they can become almost suicidal if you're not handled and having that companionship. Like I said, this definitely isn't an animal for a teenager even. That it takes a lot away from their lives, and the animal will be pushed to the side with the amount of time you have to spend with them. It's not like your snakes and lizards where you can get away with throwing some food in there and some water and getting them out when you feel like it. Even though we don't do that with ours, you know. It's definitely something you really want to think about. It's an investment. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and go into the money section. Okay, now we're going to talk about money. An upfront cost with these guys honestly isn't going to be that bad. I think when I got mine, I walked in and gave $200 for the sugar glider, and I think I gave an extra $50 for the starter kit that this breeder offered. Definitely don't buy from a pet store on this one. Like, that is the worst thing you can do. There's a lot of diseases and things that sugar gliders can have and carry, and you see them a lot from the farms. A reputable breeder is the way to go, 100%. That really care and watch their animals. The one specifically that we dealt with was from Cincinnati, Ohio. She was really knowledgeable. She actually quizzed me before I was allowed to buy the animal to make sure I knew what I was doing. So definitely want to make sure you find yourself a good breeder to purchase from if you decide to buy one. So upfront cost, you're only talking about $250 to get your starter kit and your sugar glider, which my starter kit came with a small bird cage and everything. But that small bird cage isn't going to last you that long if you want to properly keep the sugar glider. I got mine, it was about that big. It was just a baby. Once it became an adult, it needed a lot more room to run and required a bigger cage, so we moved up to about a $400 bird cage. It gave her plenty of room to run. It had a rounded top, so she would literally run circles around the bird cage, and it was a really cool thing to watch her do. But there's where you're starting to run into money. They also need exercise wheels and stimulation of some sort, branches and things to jump from. And that's the other thing, is you want to make sure your enclosure, your cage is big enough for them to jump and get a good jump. It's something that they require in their physical aspects. So definitely something to think about there. You're talking I tried to catch you and you just flipped. I'm sorry. It wasn't the best moment of my life. Anyways, you do run into some costs there, you know, and she'll chew on your perches and things you put in there, so you'll be replacing those. Pouches for them aren't exactly easy to come by. Every once in a while you can find something that suffices at like Petco or something, but they have to be a hanging pouch. So, which is something I should have covered in care. I saw this idiot on TikTok, which is what encouraged me to make this video, that had a cardboard box with some felt thrown in the bottom of a bird cage for the pouch or the hide. They spend like 15 minutes total a year on the ground. Sugar gliders are almost completely arboreal, so they should have something, a pouch hanging somewhere in the cage, and that's where they're going to feel the most safe and thrive the best. The same person had their sugar gliders out during the day, or they were out during the day on their own, and a sugar glider will come out during the day and get a drink of water, but if they're spending time outside of their hide or their pouch an extensive amount of time during the day, the sunlight, there's a problem, and you need to get that checked out and see what's going on. But so when you start talking food, you're talking probably around $60 to, depending on how many you've got. For 2 sugar gliders, you're probably talking around $60 a month in food, which again doesn't seem like a lot. Over a year's time, it adds up pretty quick. And if you already eat fruits and things, then, which most people do, I hope, then it's not going to be that bad on you because you're already buying that stuff. But just something to think about. They eat nightly. They need a full spread of fruits, vegetables, and protein every night, like clockwork. And I mean, I think Superworms ran me like $20 a box, or $20 a thing. Like we buy mealworms. Sorry, I'm talking to my wife. So it does get pricey quick. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to 5 things people get wrong when keeping. So 5 things that people get wrong when keeping sugar gliders. Wrong hides obviously is the first on my list because I saw that on TikTok. It irritated me, and I'm assuming if she's doing it, there's a bunch of people out there doing it, or at least more than there should be, which is 0. So I wanted to make sure I talked about that. And like I said, this is all based off of stuff I've seen online from other keepers. Little to no protein. Believe it or not, people believe that they require no protein in their diet except for what naturally comes from fruits and vegetables. It is not true. Like I said, protein is essential, mainly insects. They might be able to eat hornworms too. I'm not for sure on that. I think so though. I do know that we used to feed a lot of superworms because that's what ours specifically preferred. This next one is the biggest thing, is not handled enough. Like I said, once you're bonded to your sugar glider, which is an essential thing that they need, they can eat hornworms. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. But it is an essential thing once you're bonded to continuously handle. Like I would suggest a minimal of an hour a day. That plop was insane. I would suggest a minimal of an hour a day. Where are you going? Come here. There we go. At least 5 days a week, but I would, if you have the time, I would do 7 days a week, but I would not be under 5 days a week. Minimal of an hour. Especially at night, you can get away with more time. During the day, you can get away with more time. Just make sure you're not keeping them up an extensive amount of time. And when you are getting them out, I like to try and keep a schedule of how long they were out so their sleeping schedule would adapt to it. Just my personal way of doing it. Not big enough cages was one of the big things that I've seen, where they're keeping them in these tiny bird cages. Like I said, it is essential that they have enough room to jump and run around. Like if you're keeping right, I guess you should really have 2 of them, because those days when you can't get them out, they rely on each other at that point to for interaction. So you should probably have 2 of them, which is going to require even a bigger of a cage. Left in the sun, which is one I see all the time, where someone leaves their sugar glider cage in a window. Yes, they're in their pouches for the most of the time during the day, but if they have to come out for water or something, you don't want them in that direct sunlight. That was all 5 already. That was quick. Just one last thing though. Please do your research when you're looking to buy one of these things. If you guys would like me to, I can go with an in-depth care guide on them. And step by step and full lists of everything, and kind of give you guys the best rundown possible. That was one of my favorite pet projects I had, and I will get more. Just life isn't right for them right now. You kind of have to judge your life and if it's right for the animal you're buying or not. So just make sure you do your research. Make sure you're prepared for the amount of care and attention they take. These ones are definitely one, especially that you want to have a vet on standby for, and someone that knows what they're doing. other than just throwing medicine at your sugar glider. I do not recommend taking them to a vet and letting vets just throw medicine at them very often, simply because I don't let them do it with my snakes either. These guys are immune systems are built for certain things. If it gets out of control and it needs addressed, then I take them. You guys might be wondering why I haven't had Lilith in a lot of videos here lately, is I think she has an abscess on her upper lip. I'm not going to put her through the stress and things of being out here when something could be wrong. So we're actually working on getting her to the vet now, and working with a vet. So, and it's one of those things where it's just kind of out of our control at this or out of our hand controls. Out of our hands and control. Yeah. And it's time for her to go see a vet, so now we're going to move to that stage. But like I said, with sugar gliders, you need to be a lot more aware. But like I've said too, their immune systems are built to take on some illness and disease like ours is. So just make sure you know them, know what you're getting into, and make sure you're doing extensive research and know every nook and cranny. And the breeders that you're going to be buying from more than likely will be quizzing you on it and making sure. Now real quick before the video ends, because we just got this guy. This is our newest. We put a short on YouTube. I don't know if it uploaded. It was being weird. It said it was on there, but then we went to the page and couldn't see it. This guy here we're calling Iris. It's a dude. But we have Barry the Flash, so we actually named this guy Iris until we figure out if Barry the Flash is female or male. It's kind of like one of our rescue, rehab, whatever you want to call it things, except for we're keeping this guy because he's awesome. I really like him. And the person really wasn't doing anything wrong with him or anything like that. I think I talked about him a little bit in one of the other videos. They really wasn't doing anything wrong. It just sounds like she was going away to college and wasn't going to have time. Are you good, dude? But he's pretty awesome. Very energetic and jumpy, obviously. So, yeah, I just figured I would have him out though. He's kind of the size of what you're gonna see with the sugar glider, and he's new. So I just wanted to show him off a little bit. He's a pretty cool dude. So I'm sure you'll see him in more videos, and we're still going to be trying to do the rehabilitating and rehoming stuff. So, feel free to reach out if you need anything like that, any help as far as questions or care, suggestions or anything like that. Feel free to reach out. Did you ever put the links in the description? Is that what you did? On the YouTube description? Okay, so the links for all the social media is now in the YouTube description. Heavy Metal Reptiles on everything. So go ahead and you can use the links now to go ahead and get to that stuff. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you need any help, and see you guys in the next video, I guess.